Snow began to fall just before sunset. Soft, silent, unforgiving. Christmas Eve had come to the frontier town, and the cold clung to everything it touched. A single lantern burned inside the train depot. Its light flickered, barely holding back the dark. Jacob Miller stood on the platform, his coat pulled tight around his shoulders. His eyes were tired, the kind shaped by loss. Behind him stood his two sons. Samuel, 8 years old, stood straight and quiet. Thomas, only 5, clung to his father's leg. They were waiting for the evening train. The mail-order bride train. Jacob checked his pocket watch again. The letter had been clear. She would arrive on Christmas Eve. She had little money. She needed a new beginning. If you are still with me, friend, hit the red button and let's lock in for the rest of the journey. Go get your favorite snack and beverage, we're here for a while. Connecting with you all is the best part. Tell me what time it is for you and which country you're listening from below. Jacob had agreed, for one reason only. His boys needed a mother. Since their mother died 3 winters ago, the house had grown colder each year. Not just in temperature, but in spirit. The train whistle sounded in the distance. Thomas looked up. Pa, is she nice? Jacob swallowed. I hope so, son. The train rolled in slowly. Steam hissed into the night, like a warning. Passengers stepped down. Merchants, a preacher, 2 soldiers laughing loudly. Then she appeared. Last. Alone. She carried no trunk. No proper coat. Just a thin dress, a patched shawl, and worn boots cracked by cold. Snow clung to her hem. Her hands trembled. People stared. Whispers moved through the crowd. That's her? Someone muttered. Jacob's chest tightened. This was not what he expected. She stood still on the platform. Straight-backed, quiet, clutching a small cloth bundle to her chest. Her eyes showed exhaustion, fear, and something stronger, determination. The station master cleared his throat. Miss Clara Whitmore? She nodded. Yes, sir. Jacob stepped forward. I'm Jacob Miller. Their eyes met. She didn't smile. She didn't apologize. She simply spoke. Thank you for coming, she said softly. I know, I don't look like much. Jacob removed his coat. He placed it gently around her shoulders. You'll freeze, he said. She gasped. Sir, I couldn't. Your family now, he replied. At least for tonight. Her eyes filled with tears. But she held them back. I won't disappoint you, she whispered. Jacob looked at her rags. Her empty hands. Her quiet strength. And there, under falling snow on Christmas Eve, he made his choice. Not based on appearance. Not on gossip. But on the worth he saw in her eyes. Whatever the town believed, Jacob Miller would choose her. The wagon creaked as it pulled away from the depot. Snow continued to fall, soft and endless. The town lights faded behind them. Clara sat stiffly on the wooden seat. Jacob's coat hung heavy around her shoulders. It smelled of pine, leather, and cold air. She kept her hands folded in her lap, not wanting to touch anything that wasn't hers. Samuel sat across from her, quiet, watchful. Thomas peeked out from behind his brother. His eyes were curious, unafraid. No one spoke. Only the sound of hooves crunching through snow, and the wind whispering through bare trees. Clara finally broke the silence. Thank you, she said softly, for not leaving me there. Jacob nodded. It was cold. That was all he said. But she understood. The road stretched long and dark. The moon cast pale light over frozen fields. Clara shivered slightly. Jacob noticed. He reached into the wagon and pulled out an old blanket. He handed it to her without a word. She wrapped it tightly around herself. I won't be trouble, she said quickly. I can cook, clean, sew. Her voice wavered. I can work. Jacob stopped the horses. Slowly. He turned to face her. You don't need to earn a place, he said. Not tonight. Her breath caught. She looked away. No one had ever said that to her before. Thomas spoke up. Do you like stories? Clara smiled gently. Yes, she said. I love them. My mama used to read, he continued. Pa doesn't read much. Jacob cleared his throat. I can read, Clara said quickly. And sing, if you like. The wagon rolled on. Snow gathered on the edges of the seat. The boys relaxed. Samuel leaned back slightly. Trust growing, inch by inch. Hours later, a dim light appeared in the distance. The ranch. The house stood strong, against the cold. Smoke curled from the chimney. Warm. Waiting. Jacob climbed down first. He helped Clara carefully from the wagon. Her boots sank into the snow. She stumbled. He caught her. She froze, expecting anger. But he simply steadied her. I've got you, he said. Inside, the cabin glowed. Fire crackled. The air smelled of wood and stew. Clara stood at the door, uncertain. Come in, Jacob said. You belong here. She stepped inside. The door closed behind her. And for the first time in years, Clara felt something unfamiliar. Safety. The boys hurried toward the fire. Jacob set down supplies. Clara remained still. Overwhelmed. You can sit, he said gently. She did. Her hands trembled. Outside, the snow continued to fall. But inside the cabin, a new story had begun. The fire crackled softly. Orange light danced along the cabin walls. Shadows moved slowly, like old memories. Clara sat near the hearth. Her hands rested on her knees. Still cold, still unsure. Jacob placed a bowl in her hands. Stew. Warm. Steaming. Eat, he said quietly. You must be hungry. She nodded. Took a careful sip. Her shoulders relaxed, for the first time all night. The boys watched her. Thomas swung his legs. Samuel stayed still. Observing. Learning. It's good, Clara said. Thank you. Jacob nodded again. He rarely used more words than necessary. After supper, Jacob cleared the table. Clara rose quickly. I'll help, she said. He hesitated. Then stepped aside. All right. She washed the dishes carefully. As if they might break. As if she might be asked to leave at any moment. Samuel spoke. Do you really want to stay here? The question was honest. Not cruel. Clara dried her hands. She knelt in front of him. Yes, she said softly. If you'll have me. Thomas smiled. Samuel nodded once. The wind howled outside. Snow struck the windows. The world felt far away. Jacob placed extra wood on the fire. Beds are ready, he said. Clara froze. I can sleep on the floor, she offered quickly. Or the chair. Jacob shook his head. There's a room, he said. It's small, but it's warm. Her eyes filled. She blinked hard. Thank you. The room was simple. A narrow bed. A quilt. A small candle. Clara touched the quilt. Slowly. As if afraid it might disappear. Jacob lingered at the door. If you need anything, he said, I'm right outside. She nodded. I won't be trouble. He paused. You're not. The door closed gently. Clara sat on the bed. Listening. The fire. The wind. The quiet breathing of the house. She removed her worn boots. Placed them neatly beside the bed. Folded her dress. Carefully. She lay down. Pulled the quilt to her chin. Her body finally relaxed. Tears slid down her cheeks. Silent. Unashamed. Not from sadness. From relief. For the first time in years. No hunger. No shouting. No fear of mourning. Just warmth. And the promise that tomorrow might be different. Outside, snow continued to fall. But inside the cabin, hope settled quietly into the night. Morning came slowly. Soft light crept through the frost-lined window. The storm had passed. Clara woke to warmth. Not the sharp cold she was used to, but steady, safe. She sat up carefully. The quilt slipped from her shoulders. The room was quiet. For a moment, panic fluttered in her chest. Had she stayed too long? Then she heard it. The crackle of fire. Low voices. Life. She dressed quickly. Folded the quilt. Smoothed the bed. Old habits never left easily. When she stepped into the main room, the boys were already awake. Thomas sat near the fire. Samuel helped Jacob slice bread. They looked up when she entered. "Good morning," Clara said softly. Thomas grinned. "Morning." Samuel nodded. Jacob glanced at her. "You sleep all right?" "Yes," she replied. "Very well." Breakfast was simple. Bread. Eggs. Hot coffee. Clara waited until everyone else had food before touching her plate. Jacob noticed, but said nothing. After the meal, Jacob reached for his coat. "I need to check the fences," he said. "Storm might have done damage." Clara stood quickly. "I can help," she offered. "Inside, outside, anywhere." Jacob studied her. "You can stay here," he said. "Rest." She shook her head. "I want to earn my place." He paused. Then nodded once. "All right." Outside, the world was bright. Snow sparkled under sunlight. The air was sharp, but clean. Clara followed Jacob carefully. Her boots sank deep. She stumbled. He steadied her again. "Careful," he said. She smiled. "I'm learning." They worked in quiet. Jacob fixed a broken post. Clara gathered fallen branches. Her hands ached. But she didn't stop. Inside, she swept the floor. Mended a tear in Thomas's sleeve. Sang softly while she worked. The boys listened. Eyes wide. No one had sung here in years. By afternoon, the cabin felt different. Not louder. Not fuller. Just warmer. Jacob watched from the doorway. The way she moved. Careful. Intentional. Kind. He realized something then. She wasn't trying to impress. She was trying to belong. That night, as the sun dipped low, Jacob made another quiet decision. This woman wasn't just a guest. She wasn't a burden. She was becoming something else. Days passed slowly. One after another. Quiet days. Honest days. Winter still held the land, but the cold felt different now. Less sharp. Less lonely. Clara rose early each morning. Before the boys. Before Jacob. She kept busy. Not because she was told to. Because she needed to. She swept the floors. She stirred the pot. She patched coats that had been worn thin by years. Jacob noticed. He said nothing. But he noticed. Thomas followed her everywhere. Like a shadow. "Will you stay forever?" he asked one morning. Clara paused. She knelt beside him. "I'll stay as long as I'm wanted," she said gently. Samuel watched from across the room. Quiet. Thinking. Later that day, Jacob returned from town. His jaw was tight. His shoulders stiff. Clara sensed it immediately. Someone had spoken. Someone had judged. He hung his coat. Washed his hands. Said nothing. At supper, Samuel finally asked. "Pa, people were talking." Jacob didn't look up. "They always do. They said she won't last." Samuel continued. "They said women like her never do." Clara froze. Her spoon hovered midair. Jacob set his cup down slowly. "They don't decide that," he said firmly. The room went quiet. Clara lowered her gaze. Shame crept in, uninvited. After supper, she cleaned in silence. Her hands trembled. Old fears returned. She stood by the window, watching snow fall again. Jacob approached quietly. "You all right?" he asked. She didn't answer at first. Then, "I know I'm not what you expected," she said. "I won't blame you if—" "Stop," Jacob said. His voice was calm, but strong. "You came in the cold," he continued. "You stayed when it was hard. That tells me more than any dress ever could." Her breath shook. "I'm afraid," she admitted, "of being sent away." Jacob met her eyes. "Not happening." She searched his face. For doubt. For pity. She found neither. That night, Clara sat by the fire longer than usual. Thomas leaned against her side. Samuel read aloud. Jacob listened. The house felt alive. Later, when the boys slept, Clara spoke softly. "I don't know how to repay this." Jacob shook his head. "You already are." She frowned. "How?" "You chose to stay," he said. "And that matters." Clara looked into the fire. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future. Not borrowed. Not temporary. But real. And Jacob realized something too. Kindness had weight. And he was willing to carry it. Morning arrived with heavy clouds. The kind that promised snow. The ranch was quiet. Too quiet. Clara felt it first. A tightening in her chest. A sense she couldn't explain. She set the kettle down. Listened. The wind shifted. Hoofbeats echoed in the distance. Jacob heard them too. He stepped to the window. His shoulders stiffened. A rider was approaching. Alone. Slow. Deliberate. Samuel looked up. "Pa?" Jacob didn't answer. He reached for his coat. Clara stood frozen. Visitors meant questions. Questions meant judgment. The rider stopped near the gate. A man dismounted. Tall. Well-dressed. City boots. Not made for snow. Jacob's jaw tightened. "I'll handle this," he said. Clara shook her head. "I should go," she whispered. "I don't want to cause trouble." Jacob turned to her. "You're not trouble." The words landed softly. But they stayed. He stepped outside. The cold rushed in. The man removed his hat. "Jacob Miller," he said. "I thought I'd find you here." Jacob didn't invite him closer. "What do you want, Edward?" Edward glanced past him. Toward the window. Toward Clara. "I came about the woman," he said. "I know who she is." Clara's heart pounded. The past had found her. Edward continued. "She was meant for someone else." Jacob stepped forward. "She's here now." Edward smirked. "You think she chose you?" "She had no other choice." Jacob's voice hardened. "She had every choice." Edward laughed softly. "She's desperate. She's poor. She'll leave when something better comes." Jacob closed the distance between them. "That's enough." Edward raised his hands. "I'm just warning you. Women like her don't stay." Jacob stared him down. "Then you don't know her." Edward hesitated. Something in Jacob's tone unsettled him. He mounted his horse. Before leaving, he looked back. "She'll ruin you." Jacob didn't respond. He watched the man disappear into the snow. When he returned inside, the warmth hit him. The fire. The quiet. Clara stood by the table. Her face pale. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't want my past to follow me." Jacob removed his coat. Hung it slowly. "The past only has power," he said, "if you let it stay." She looked at him. Tears shimmered. "They think I'm weak." Jacob met her gaze. "They're wrong." She swallowed. "What if they're right?" He stepped closer. "They don't live here. They don't see you. I do." Her breath caught. The boys watched silently. They didn't understand the words. But they understood the feeling. Clara nodded. Something shifted. The fear loosened its grip. Outside, snow began to fall again. But inside the cabin, the past had knocked. And been turned away. The snow fell heavier that night. Thick. Quiet. Relentless. It pressed against the windows, like the world was listening. Clara couldn't sleep. She sat at the small table, hands wrapped around a cooling cup of tea. Her thoughts would not settle. Edward's words echoed in her mind. She's desperate. She'll leave. Old wounds reopened easily. Jacob noticed. He didn't ask questions. He simply sat across from her. Present. Sometimes that was enough. I don't want to bring shame here, Clara said at last. Her voice was barely sound. Jacob looked at her steadily. This house has seen worse, he replied. She managed a small smile. But not gossip. He shrugged. Gossip doesn't mend fences or feed children. She lowered her gaze. I've run my whole life, she admitted. From towns, from people, from myself. Jacob listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't judge. I thought if I kept moving, she continued, pain couldn't catch me. She laughed softly. It always did. Jacob leaned back. I stayed, he said. When everything told me to leave. She looked up. Why? He thought for a moment. Because running didn't bring her back, he said. My wife. Silence settled between them. Not awkward. Honest. I stayed for the boys, he continued. But somewhere along the way, I stopped living. Clara felt the weight of his words. She had seen it in him. The way he moved. The way he spoke. Careful. Guarded. I don't want to run anymore, she said. But I don't want to be unwanted. Jacob met her eyes. You're not. The words were simple. But they landed deep. The fire popped. Thomas shifted in his sleep. Samuel turned a page in his book. Life went on around them. Clara inhaled slowly. Then exhaled. I'll stay, she said. If you'll have me. Jacob nodded once. That settled then. Something eased in her chest. A tight knot loosened. She hadn't realized how badly she needed permission. The next morning, the ranch woke early. The storm had cleared. The sky was pale blue. Clean. Samuel helped Jacob saddle the horse. Thomas clung to Clara's skirt. Don't leave today, he said. She knelt. Looked him in the eyes. I'm not going anywhere. He smiled. Wide. Unburdened. Jacob paused at the door. Watched them. Something unfamiliar stirred in him. Hope. Not loud. Not reckless. But steady. That day, Clara worked beside him. Not to prove anything. Not to earn her place. But because she wanted to be there. They shared few words. Didn't need many. Trust was building. Quietly. Like snow melting into the earth. That night, as stars filled the sky, Clara stood on the porch. Jacob joined her. The cold bit lightly. But neither moved. This place, she said. It feels like it could be home. Jacob looked out over the land. It already is, he replied. And for the first time. They both believed it. Morning came quietly. No storm. No wind. Just pale sunlight, resting on fresh snow. The ranch felt still. But not empty. Alive. Clara moved softly through the cabin. Careful not to wake the boys. She swept the floor. Set bread to warm. Let the kettle sing gently. These small things mattered to her. They meant she was still here. Samuel woke first. He sat at the table, with his book open. But he wasn't reading. He was watching her. You stayed, he said. Clara turned. Yes, she replied. I did. He nodded. As if confirming something he already knew. Thomas burst from the bedroom next. Hair wild. Eyes bright. You're still here, he said. She smiled. I told you I would be. He ran to her. Wrapped his arms around her waist. The contact startled her. Then softened her. She rested a hand on his back. Carefully. Like the moment might break. Jacob watched from the doorway. He said nothing. But something settled in his chest. Later that morning, Jacob took Samuel outside. Fence repairs. Man's work. Quiet lessons. Thomas stayed behind. He followed Clara as she baked. Do you miss your mama? he asked suddenly. The question was simple, but heavy. Clara knelt beside him. Yes, she said honestly. Every day. He thought about that. Mine went away, he said. She didn't mean to. Clara nodded. I know. She would like you, he added. Clara's throat tightened. I would have liked her too. Outside, Samuel worked in silence. Then he spoke. Pa? Jacob paused. Yes? Is she leaving? Jacob considered the question. No, he said. She's staying. Samuel nodded, satisfied. No more questions. Inside, Clara set the bread out to cool. Thomas dragged a stool beside her. Can you read later? He asked. Yes, she replied. Of course. The word felt right. Natural. Later that day, the house filled with sound. Not noise. Life. Pages turning. Soft laughter. A story read aloud. Jacob listened from the corner. He hadn't heard that sound in a long time. He saw how Clara leaned closer when Thomas struggled with a word. How Samuel corrected himself before she could. How neither boy pulled away. Children noticed things. What was real? What was safe? That evening, Jacob carried water inside. He stopped at the door. Watched them. 3 heads bent together. Firelight warming their faces. He realized something then. They had already chosen her. Not because she was promised. Not because she was convenient. But because she stayed. Because she listened. Because she cared. Later, when the boys slept, Clara stood by the window. Do you think they'll accept me? She asked quietly. Jacob didn't hesitate. They already have. She let out a slow breath. The kind held too long. That night, Clara slept deeply. No dreams of running. No fear of mourning. And in the quiet cabin, a family was forming. Not announced. Not forced. Just happening. The morning was gray. Clouds hung low, heavy with snow. The ranch seemed smaller somehow. Tighter. The wind howled through the trees. Jacob worked outside, repairing the barn door. Clara stayed inside, baking bread. The boys watched her carefully. She hummed softly, letting the warmth fill the cabin. It was a small comfort. Then came a knock at the door. Sharp. Insistent. Clara froze. Jacob turned, wiping his hands on his coat. Who is it? He asked. No answer. He opened the door slowly. No one. Only footprints in the snow. Too large for a child. Too deliberate to be accidental. He closed the door and bolted it. Clara sat down, shaking slightly. Is it someone dangerous? Thomas asked. Jacob shook his head. We'll see, he said. But his jaw was tight. The storm wasn't just outside. It had followed them in. Footsteps were not enough. A shadow lingered near the barn. Someone watching. Someone waiting. Clara's past had found her again. And this time, it wasn't just words. Samuel noticed her hands trembling. He reached over, touched her arm. You're safe, he whispered. She nodded. But inside, a battle raged. The fear of running. The fear of losing them. The fear of being judged once more. Jacob finished the barn repairs and returned inside. He looked at her. You're not alone, he said. No matter what comes. Clara nodded slowly. The snow continued to fall. Heavy. Unforgiving. But she felt something inside her shift. Courage. Determination. She wouldn't run this time. Not from judgment. Not from fear. The boys sensed it too. Samuel watched her. Thomas hugged her leg. The warmth of trust settled in the room. That evening, Jacob lit extra lamps. Clara set the table for supper. The fire glowed strong. Outside, the wind rattled the windows. Inside, the cabin hummed with life. They ate together, quietly, yet firmly. Each bite, each glance, each word, was a promise. To stay. To protect. To build something lasting. When the boys went to bed, Clara and Jacob remained by the fire. She poured tea. He watched her carefully. "You're stronger than you think," he said. She looked up. "I'm learning," she whispered. Jacob nodded. The storm outside continued. But inside the cabin, something else raged. A fire of courage. Of hope. Of belonging. And Clara realized at that moment, she had finally stopped running. For the first time, she had a home. For the first time, she was chosen. Not because of appearances. Not because of convenience. Because she had stayed. Because she had shown strength. Because she had allowed herself to belong. The storm outside would not matter. It could rage all it wanted. Inside, the family had begun to form. And nothing could take that away. The next morning was calm. The storm had passed. Sunlight reflected off the snow. Soft. Golden. Clara stepped outside. Her boots sank into the clean white snow. The air was crisp. She took a deep breath. For the first time in a long time, it felt like freedom. Jacob came out behind her. "Beautiful morning," he said quietly. She nodded. "It feels peaceful," she whispered. The boys ran ahead, their laughter echoing across the frozen fields. Samuel skidded to a stop, pointing at a snow-covered fence. Thomas rolled in the snow, giggling. Clara smiled, watching them. It was moments like this that made the hardships worth it. Jacob came closer. "You've done well," he said. Clara turned to him. "I wasn't sure at first," she admitted. "But you made me want to stay." He smiled softly. "You never needed convincing," he said. The truth hung between them. It was simple. And powerful. Clara reached for his hand. He didn't hesitate. Their fingers intertwined. Warm against the cold. The boys ran back to them. "Pa, look," Samuel shouted. He held up a small bundle of snowballs. "Catch." Jacob pretended to be hit. Clara laughed, lightly. The sound felt new. Light. She realized then, this was her life now. Not borrowed. Not temporary. Real. She had a home. A family. The past had tried to follow her. Tried to break her. But it had failed. She had chosen to stay. And in that choice, she had found strength. Jacob looked out across the ranch. The fences stood firm. The barn had been repaired. The horses stirred in their stalls. All was quiet, yet full of life. Clara leaned against him. "I never thought I'd belong anywhere," she said softly. "You do," Jacob replied. "And you always will." The boys cheered, throwing snow in the air. Clara felt warmth in her chest. She closed her eyes. Let the sunlight and the laughter wash over her. The mail-order bride, who arrived in rags on a cold Christmas Eve, was no longer a stranger. She was part of something lasting. Jacob squeezed her hand gently. "We'll face whatever comes next together," he said. Clara nodded. The past was behind them. The future stretched wide and open. And for the first time, everything felt right. Snow drifted softly around the cabin. The boys' laughter rang out. Jacob's eyes met Clara's. And in that look, they both understood. Home. Family. Love. A new beginning.